What up, doing? Welcome back to Juggalos Review. This evening we're going to be reviewing ICP's Behind the Paint. Here's a close-up of the cover here. It's an autobiography by Violent J. It's the story of the Insane Clown Posse. So this is a story that is covering Violent J's childhood all the way up through all of the Six Jokers cards saga, and it's a detailed account of their hardship and come up with him and his brother Rob, Bruce, and their sister Teresa, and it talks about all the horrible babysitters that they had, his dad Richard Bruce leaving the family and taking off the family's little bit of cash they had and driving away when Violent J was at a young age, and all of the trauma that they went through. And the book is full of awesome illustrations and pictures of their touring throughout the years, and just pictures from their childhood. The book is dedicated to the butterfly, so if anybody who's a real Juggalo knows already, each of the Joker's cards are dedicated to the butterfly. And here's a picture of that. And if you're not aware, the butterfly was a little butterfly that him and Violent J and Rob caught when they were young, put it in a jar, and they held it overnight and was going to release it the next day. They woke up and it had died, and they felt so awful about it. They promised that they were going to make it up to the butterfly and meet it in heaven. So each Joker's card is dedicated to the butterfly. And this book is a very easy read. It's very conversational. It sounds like Violent J is just speaking it to you, because this book is ghost written by Hobie Eklund. And here's the first opening paragraph, if it gives you any sort of indication of what the book is like. The butterfly. Outside of my mom's Nedden, the first thing I remember is my real dad, Richard Bruce, building a haunted house in our basement. I must have been 2 years old at the time. My brother Rob, my sister Teresa, and I explored all through the haunted house, which we had built out of blankets and shit like that. So yeah, it's like conversational, like it's got cussing, and if you don't like reading, this is like a very easy read. This is how thick the book is, to give you an idea. And like I said, it's got many sections. They cover the ringmaster, dog beats, when they met Rude Boy, Riddlebox, Great Malenko, Amazing Jekyll Brothers, The Wraith. And it's got two sections that are like tangents that are written by Shaggy, called Shaggy Two Dope's Guide to Crime Volume 1 and 2, where he basically teaches you how to ways to get away with like shoplifting. And it's this book is what got me super hardcore back into ICP, because I listened to them, got down with Riddlebox in high school, and after listening to them for a couple of years, I kind of stopped listening to them. And then I read this book, and around that time the Mighty Death Pop was coming out, and then between reading this book and being like my mind and wig just fucking blown off of my head, I was like full force back into ICP. And then years later, here I am, a full-fledged Juggalo for life. So also I'd like to show off, the book has the paper slip, and it looks like this on the front again, and then you flip it to the back, and then it's got Shaggy Two Dope's face, and on here you can see where I signed it at my second gathering I did the autograph line and got their signatures, and here's Shaggy 2 Dope's autograph. And then he was like, here you go, one eye, and he drew a little eyeball right there. And then so if you take the paper slip off the book then is a hardback, and it says ICP like that. Flip it to the side, it says ICP Behind the Paint by Violent J with Hobie Eklund. And then hopefully you can see that they've got the Hatchet Man logo kind of pressed into the book like that. And then if you open up the book like this, you can see Violent J signed it. Violent J, Insane Clown Posse will never die, he wrote to me. And then also I got Big Hoodoo's autograph, because they always usually in their autograph signings at the gathering have, if it's an autograph session with ICP, it's usually ICP and like someone else. So at the time, Big Hoodoo is not a part of any of the book's legacy at all, so I guess it was somewhat weird to have him sign it, but oh well. There's tons and tons of pictures and flyers and like comic book illustrations that they drew, and I'll just show some of that off. Like here's a picture of Violent J and Shaggy from back in the day, and I would highly recommend this book. This book, like I said, for if I'm not a person that particularly likes to read, I'll read a book occasionally. I love biographies and autobiographies about people who I find interesting. So if you're into Insane Clown Posse at all, I'd highly recommend this book. For those of you that are really hate reading, you might want to check this out, which I'll do a more thorough review of in the future. This is a USB drive that has Violent J reading the entire book. So if you pick up the book, get this, what this is, the story of ICP and the first 6 Joker's cards Behind the Paint, expanded and updated, the audiobook read by Violent J. So what this is Violent J reading this whole book, and then it's actually got extra stories that are not in the book. So that's really cool. A lot of the stories about chicks that he fucked, but interesting nonetheless. It's also like pitched up with like sound effects and like it's a real like a lot of extras, like atmosphere type of stuff. So like get the book and read along, and get the audio book, I would recommend. And I guess that pretty much sums up this review. I would give the book a 10 out of 10 for sure. I loved it very much. I read this like several years ago, and it just like blew my mind, blew, like I said, like my wig straight off of my head. And I was just amazed by coming from nothing and then what they've acquired, you know what I mean? So it was really cool. I'd highly recommend it, and we'll see you guys in the next review. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel, Juggalos Review, where we review anything and everything. And then also subscribe to Ross TV if you haven't checked that out before. Subscribe. And thanks for watching.
Spray some Fago in this bitch.